Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta. Tonight we have Shadows of Shallowbrooke, Renewal of the Circle. So, for those of you just tuning in, creepypastas are short internet stories that get copied and pasted across the internet on forum threads, Reddit No Sleep, wikis. Go Google it. And yeah, we're returning to Shallowbrooke for a second story. This one is also done by Catcid. And I guess we'll just dive into this one, narration-wise. So the story told through a rather personable and commenting, omnipresent narrator, begins with a teenager named Peter and his friend Brian. The two have a smoke by the river after a hard day's work, hoping to catch a good view of the local beauty, Marietta. Apparently, watching her getting wet from washing her clothes is a pastime in Shallowbrooke. However, she's not there, and instead Peter finds a bloody cloth in the water. Worried, Peter takes it home to his dad, and then, because he'll know what to do, he'll know what this is all about. We then switch to the events that led up to the bloody cloth with Marietta, who we discover is the daughter of Lucille from the last story in Shallowbrooke, The Singing of Crows, who has been driven mad by the same dark force that Lucille escaped seemingly 20 years prior. It persuades her to, and in this madness, it persuades her to take her mother's face.
Because it was owed to her.
Yeah.
She should have gotten it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And if she can't have it inheritedly, she'll take it by force, damn it. So she commissions and I guess purchases some very sharp shears from the local blacksmith.
That's all you need to take a face.
Well, I mean, she's just a little, she's a farm girl. However, she has said, it is mentioned that she's, intelligent.
Exactly.
So, alright, yeah. And it does, anyways.
It doesn't take a genius to figure out that, I'm gonna need something more than shears to take a face.
Also, we could maybe just rattle up to her being insane. But...
everyone's defense.
I mean, it didn't do her well at the end of this, but anyways, so she gets them, and in the dead of night, she kills Lucille and carves her face off for a mask, much to her glee. And again, it is mentioned shears. Unfortunately, shears are not exactly the right tool for this, and she should have been a surgeon or had some kind of more surgical utensils or whatever to do it, because it came out all jagged and not quite what she wanted. Wasn't the clean pull off that he was hoping for.
It's never like that when you take someone's face.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever seen the movie Dagon? They do that pretty well.
Oh.
What about Face Off?
Yeah, that's the one I would have gone with.
Cthulhu. So 2 days later, upon showing the cloth sheet to his father, Pete stands beside the village leader and priest of the Church of Aaron in front of the rest of the village, inquiring as to who was murdered or behind it. Or at least that's what the priest is calling out to, and which gets Peter a little suspicious because, that was my first instinct that it was probably somebody who'd been hurt or murdered, but wow, just going straight to murder. But we do find out also, that apparently from the narrator that the priest, the leader and the most spiritually faithful, is also going slightly insane. All right. It's here though that Marietta walks up through the crowd, still wearing her mother's face, much to the disgust and terror of the villagers around her. Horrified, the priest has her hanged the next day. As she hangs, in loving narrative description of the situation around her. The narrator leaves off with the foreboding revelation that the dark force behind this whole event has managed to creep a bit more into the world to harvest. The end. So, just going to my thoughts on this one. There are some like simple spelling mistakes and tense issues that like if you really like went like while I was reading I was like, all right, this could be like this easily could have been fixed, but
a simple
check.
look over
Yeah.
would have,
like I read through it, like I didn't do my notes or my thoughts ahead of time. I just like was reading the story, and as I was reading I was like, what? Oh, okay, that's gotta be fixed. And this could have easily been fixed.
They resided there when Peter's great-grandfather, who were reputed to be the oldest man in town, and perhaps the entire region, was nothing but an afterthought in the dim candlelight of a wedding bed.
Yep.
Obviously, should have been was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, that's like the second or third sentence.
Yeah.
And wedding bed. I don't know. Thoughts of wedding took me out.
Okay.
Well, I was wondering if there's an actually type of bed and searching.
No, it's because when you get married, you're, supposed to not have had intercourse, and then you get married, and then you bump uglies.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah.
You see? That's why it's a wedding bed.
Okay.
Moving on. I really enjoyed the narration of this one, the narration style of the narrator, who isn't quite a character, but is a more or less a fictional extension of the author telling us the story. It's much like in the same vein of the writings of like Lemony Snicket novels, where it gives the story kind of a whimsical fantasy feel, and then like contrasts it with the horror in the story. And makes it a little bit more unsettling because of that contrast. It's in the same vein as like a dark fairy tale or something like out of the Black Forest or like Old Grimm's Tales stuff. I also enjoyed the world building by connecting it to the last story and having time pass in this town. Like you kind of get it seems like this town is degrading further in as the world outside like just avoids the area. And like you see that in this story, like when he just kind of like gives like descriptions of like, oh, like this tavern's like had a run of bad luck since the last 15 years. We haven't had much travel through town because people avoid the place. Just stuff like that is in the story that I appreciated. I want to hear more about this mine that people disappear in, because this is the second time that's been brought up in the stories. Or the priest who is apparently going insane secretly-ish. I feel...
There's multiple ways that people keep dying or go missing, like the mines or on the hunt or whatever. You almost think that there's nobody in this town.
Yeah. Fair, yeah. Or it's like, there's surprisingly supposedly a lot of people in this town for not having many people, like, people just stopped coming through, like, altogether, like, 10 years ago. But, like, we're just gonna get, the next story is just gonna be, like, they're all gonna be inbred hillbillies. If they're not already.
Well, that's why it's Shallowbrooke.
Yeah.
Because the gene broke is shallow.
But, I like that one, actually. I really appreciate that. I feel that while I enjoyed the ending of this one, but mainly because like just how like kind of, I just liked the end like paragraph or two because of like how well it was narratively described. But I've got some qualms too about it. This could have gone further, or feels like it should have been with like, or we should have had more with Peter getting inklings of the wrongness of town from start to finish. Like, we get like Peter like is mentioned at the beginning, and he seems to be the plot, like the main character, and then we get him at the end. But then the rest of the story is really just about. It seems like he was just really a red herring, because the rest of the story is really just about Marietta's insanity and the death of not the comeuppance, but the the vengeful end of Lucille, because she escaped the darkness and the darkness came back and after her and like finished the job kind of thing.
Yeah, Peter could be cut from this story and you would lose nothing.
Yeah,
you
like
would just have a nameless farmhand.
You could have just
find the bloody
exactly,
sheep.
Yeah,
and
like you could go that route, or you could make it longer and have like this be, because this kind of feels like a good first arc or first act to a story, like the insanity, this event, and then like sparks his more inquisitive mind, because they even mentions at the beginning that he asked questions and then he just stopped because people would be really silent and have this dread about them. Yeah. So this could have sparked that back up, but no, it just kind of ends with the hanging of Marietta and like the revelation that the door from to the unknown has been opened a little bit more. Because
it starts with Peter, and does touch base with him again at the, for lack of a better term, the posse raising. Yeah. It would have been better for it to end with like his point of view about what happened, or like it reigniting or turning up the flame of his curiosity. Yeah, because like this is fucked up. Yeah. Like, first off, someone was murdered in this town. Yeah, and that doesn't happen. Yeah, and he doesn't think that happens, like, because he's kind of slightly oblivious about like the actual bloody history of town. Yeah. And even at the end, like, he gets inklings of like he starts looking over at the priest. Is like, are you okay, buddy? Like, he kind of gets inklings of the insanity that the preacher apparently has for reasons. Like, well, I feel like it's hinting at a different story. Yeah, and I'd like to read that story, but there's only 2 stories from Shallowbrooke so far. Yeah, Kid, get on that. I agree with you on that. That mentioning that the priest is dipping into insanity, there's no rhyme or reason for it. Yeah, like other than setting up another story. Yeah. But at the same time, like, if you're gonna mention it in this one, do something with it in this one. Yeah, because it really just, I mean, his reaction even to Marietta like popping up and like him just like take her away, like we'll hang her tomorrow or something. That's legitimate, like old town, small town like thing, like feudal town or whatever. Like they would hang somebody like that. Yeah. Also, actually, sorry, just to go back to like the spelling thing. I remember something where the crows, all the bird, like the last 2 paragraphs, actually hung and stuff like that. The birds all left for like brighter lands, and the wolves. I think it says the wolves like. Fuck, I can't remember it. I gotta look at it. Can somebody look that up? Give me a second. Cool. The birds of the woods had departed for brighter lands, and the wolf sat covering in the blackness of the night. Yeah, covering. That was what it was. It should have been covered. Yeah, or even cowering, because they were like in the darkness, cowering because the darkness had shown up. Yeah, they're wolves. I would have been happy with covered. All right, fair enough. Well, either or, because yes, yours states that there's something worse than a pack of wolves out there. Yeah. Whereas mine says that they're biding their time. Yeah, they're gonna come with the darkness. Yeah. Because they're equally corrupted. Mm-hmm. And that kind of makes sense with the woods around this town. Yeah, that's really all I had in my notes or my thoughts on this one. Like, I enjoyed the read, and I was actually kind of surprised that like I was trying to, like, as I was reading it, I was trying to guess what was going to happen next, and it never really quite sunk up like what happened next for me. Like just the reactions and like what the characters were going to do. Like I was not expecting this to be a murder, like the act of a murder, and like ripping off somebody's face, and then. Yeah, I just wasn't expecting that. But it was a good story, at least for my enjoyment of it. So, Mikey, E stands for evil.
My first notes here is that some of the wording just goes around beating the bush and fillering.
No, that's I remember reading because of those. Yep.
Even the beginning. Peter was not a man of the world, actually barely a man at all. This was a fact that he tried to deny by telling himself otherwise, yet in his heart he knew the truth, that he was actually a female. No. It hadn't been established that, like, what Peter was.
Also, there's one, I think, later where it's about the darkness. It's like, I can't even describe it. Don't tell me to. Don't ask me to. Yeah. But here's what happened. It's that kind of like wishy-washy like descriptor that just is really just filler in a story.
Yeah, it's a lot of flowery words that don't actually say much.
Yeah, and really should be focused, like, because there are, like, flowery words that are well used in the story, but then these ones are just kind of, you can just kind of see them as filler, because the guy's trying to make it a little bit longer.
Trying to make it a little bit longer, trying to seem like a better writer than he is, or, just trying to have the story be something that it's not.
Mm.
Whether it be longer or more intelligent. Like, the lines are well written, but they don't need to be there, so it's not better writing, if that makes sense.
Like they're just unnecessary. Like, to be there.
He's trying too hard to make it a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's when really you should follow the rule of thumb, which is keep it simple.
Yeah. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the pretty wording, but, if it doesn't add to the story, cut it from the story.
Yeah. So.
And we've touched on the words that are blatantly wrong, like were should be was, and I have a missing S, and for should be from, and different locations.
It's easily fixable. Like, you just need to reread the story. Really is what it is.
Or have someone else read it and then be like, well, this doesn't make any sense, and then there we go. And then here's a quote I have here. Peter replied with the tone of a man whose thoughts are in the far away and long gone. And I was like, so that could have been made a lot clearer.
Yeah.
So he's thinking about Star Wars.
That's exactly. You say that, and I remember thinking about, like, so galaxy far, far away.
I remember thinking, what the fuck is he thinking about that? Either tell us or don't bring it up.
Or describe it a little bit simpler, because I mean, when I hear that, I also think so he was just thinking off in the middle, like he was just thinking, he was deep in thought, and that's it. That's all you have to say.
Yeah,
he was broken from deep thought.
He's trying to use pretty wording to make it seem like it's like to make it better.
Yeah, but it's
when
not.
In reality, all it does is
confuse or
at best it confuses the reader.
Yeah,
and
at worst it annoys them and makes and pulls them out of the story.
Exactly. So to just go with more common, more simple wording, is sometimes it's just your best course of action.
And then the other note here I have is that it took 2 days for anyone to notice that the person had been...
Lucille had been killed, because nobody had seen her for 2 days.
And it's a small town where everybody
and
talks.
You've got to assume that Marietta and Lucille are both, like, not out and about town.
Yeah.
And, like, they're apparently, the most beautiful women of their age group.
Yeah.
So people are going to notice, and people are going to wonder, and it's...
Like, the 2 days really should have been cut to, like, the day, like, she should have been, like, killed or whatever, like, hours after, Peter found the bloody thing, or, like, that day, the day before, right, the night before.
And also,
the night of.
Here's a silly question, just to, question the plot. How the fuck does the bloody sheet, end up in the brook?
Yeah, no,
How does it end up in the brook? Upriver.
Yeah, there's some, like, tasteful cuts, like, where, like, we just don't, like, they just kind of, like, go from, like, one scene to another.
Why does she just throw it away?
Yeah, exactly.
And, I mean, given her mental state, I would have expected her to just leave her mother and the bloody sheet
in the room.
In the bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but no, she seems to, like, and we're, like, what did she, like, what did she do with Lucille's body? Because it was apparently the bed sheets underneath Lucille.
Exactly.
So, yeah, like, it adds, like, again, like I said, there are scenes, and I did pick it up while I was reading it, there are scenes that are kind of just like, we cut to a new scene when where some action happened between, but we don't really hear it from that because it's not really necessary, or it's just like, don't really need to, like, know, like, how they did something, or how they, like, got the whole group, like, all the villagers together or whatever, or how they hung her that morning. She's on. Suddenly we cut to a scene where she's hanging, like, a little bit more tasteful. Well, also kind of with the flower description in the hanging part, but this part, I feel like we should have gotten a scene where how did she cover that up? Like,
Exactly. There is...
she should have, it's like, I would have gotten away with it, too, if I hadn't done this. Or something like that, yeah.
Or just in general, it's... Why the fuck did she do anything with it?
Yeah, exactly. What if that blacksmith guy, who apparently had a crush on Lucille, had come to knocking and found the scene? Like, that would have been a good discovery of the madness.
Yes, and it also would have...
removed Peter.
Well, it would have removed Peter, and it would have utilized a character that was set up.
Yeah, because... And a
backstory that was set up.
Exactly, yeah.
For it would have made the...
It would have tied it all together into a shorter story, but a more complete short story.
A nice, neat little package.
Yep.
And that would have been just delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the only other note I have here, which we've all touched on, is that Peter was not really integral to the story.
Yeah, except to,
other than
because
the cloth.
Yeah, exactly. Or, it seemed like the story wanted to be a little bit longer, or wanted to have a few more acts, but then it just kind of ends at this act, so maybe it's just too much detail of a character that really should have just been an NPC, that, nameless...
well, and I feel like Peter's going to come up later in the Shallowbrooke stories.
Yeah.
And he's going to be maybe a major player.
Or just another
maybe
victim.
Quite possibly the protagonist versus the darkness.
Yeah.
But
in this
he's not doing anything in this. He's
yeah,
not necessary. You're setting him up for a story that we don't have.
Yeah.
Or for a story that isn't here.
Yeah.
And... It builds this sense that there's a lot more to Shallowbrooke in the author's head, but if it's not here for us on the screen, then we don't need it.
Yeah, and I want to know what's going on in Shallowbrooke. This is a cool, so far, the last two stories we've read of Shallowbrooke, I've enjoyed the read, and I wanted to know more. I want to know more about this creepy town and what this darkness is. I remember it had a name because it was a dark name, or like a forbidden name that was etched in a tree or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's otherwise the story should have been just a shorter, more confined story of the insanity.
And you would have still had the desire to keep know more, to read other Shallowbrooke stories, if these setups for events that aren't in this story weren't in this story.
Yeah.
I'm all for an insane preacher story, but don't bring it up in this one.
Because I want to know about that.
You already have your insane person in this one. You're good. Your quota is met.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not, it says, he's starting to go insane. It's but, he reacts like a normal person otherwise to the fact that this crazy girl has killed her mother and wore her skin.
Yeah, he's a little irrational himself.
When he's,
but at the same time, he's... That's a way I can see a person reacting to the situation in this story.
Yeah. Also, to help the blacksmith thing even more, it is mentioned that Lucille's husband vanished or died in the mines. So maybe the reason why the blacksmith was coming by was to check up on the family, because he's been doing that since the death of the father.
Or maybe he's trying to put the moves on her because he's the reason that
exactly
disappeared.
Maybe the mine's really just the blacksmith dude, the killer.
Well, maybe it's a bunch of things. Yeah. Maybe he took advantage of the fact that, people disappear in that mine.
You should go down that shaft there. Yeah.
Well, no, he just, people disappear in the mine. The man who's married to the woman I, secretly love works in the mine. If I go to the mine, I can kill him, and everyone will just assume it was the mine. Yeah, exactly.
There's more of a plot here, but, again, we get them, but then it just kind of stops at the end, where it should have either gone longer or stuff should be cut to be and rearranged to be a tighter story.
Yeah. Because I either would have, don't get me wrong, I like the Peter stuff to an extent, but the fact that it's completely superfluous.
Yeah.
But if it had been bookended at the end with like I said, the heat being turned up on his curiosity, that would have made it. Yeah, that would have made it all better. Just
up his what's going on in this town? Or have him
just a good-sized paragraph.
Yeah.
About his inner reaction to the events that took place, and his realization that this place
is darker than he thought.
Is not the happy place that, for some reason, I think it is.
Yeah, like, I mean, and actually, one particular, like, him, like, reacting to the hanging. Like, yeah, she was crazy, but, like, wow, that was really fast, like, turnaround time for her. Like, crap. Yeah, because, like, he's, like, got this, like, naivety about the town, and then have that all shattered at the end. Like, would have been a nice opening for, like, the next story, which would be Peter investigating the town and either coming out the hero or falling into tragedy.
Or just having him continue to be...
Or, yeah, just be like the observer.
To be there in other stories, because, I mean, I do not feel like this is a simple 3-story... No, it shouldn't be anyway. It's building to a climax where the darkness
opens the doors fully.
Yeah, and becomes just an absolute terror. And I think having, this Peter character either in the background or, front line for the events that take place, but more or less as an observer learning, would be a great way to set up your hero for that final conflict.
Yeah. Whether
or not he's actually victorious.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, no, I like that. I do want to see more of Shallowbrooke. Just because, like, the author seems to have, like, a very, like, he seems very invested.
Definite vision.
Yeah, a definite vision, an investment, and passion to this world he's building. Like, and we see it, like, again, like, even mentioned, like, when
why he has all of these allusions to other stories, because
he has those stories, like, or at least inklings of them in his head. Yeah. Or, like, he has drafts of them.
So, what makes this story good is also where a lot of the problems come from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's really just, like, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I recall specifically in one of my English classes in high school, I made the same mistakes. So, I mean, I would say it's pretty easy to make this mistake.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of, in the future, correct it.
Yeah. And from what I've heard, like, on the comments and stuff, because he actually responds to comments on the creepyhouse.com, Catcid actually does, like, want criticism of his stories. So, hopefully, if you're listening, Catcid, yeah, like, take this to heart and, like, build on that. Like, you've got some good stuff going.
Yeah, I actually enjoy the read here. Yes, I notice its flaws, but, yeah. I mean, isn't that kind of why we're here?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, just that's why we start the show.
Exactly.
So, anything else?
No, I think I've honestly touched on all of my issues and praises in with this story while interrupting you guys and adding to your comments.
It's how how our procedure usually goes. Yeah. The only thing else I really had is kind of superfluous as well, because it's just I wanted to comment on, like, when the preacher is, like, to ask, like, it's like, oh, there's a devil, like, there's a like, the devil walks among us or something like that, like, when he's, like, talking to the crowd, and like, he name drops another, like, religious figure or creature or something like that, like the stone serpent that lurks in the shadows. Like, we get another name for that. I can't remember what it is, unfortunately. But it's like, yeah, it's kind of a superfluous thing, because it's more or less just more praising about the story because of the world building that's going on. Because it feels more like this, like, yeah, there is a definite world here that's solidified, at least in the author's head, or that the author is fleshing out. And I really appreciate that as a creative person myself.
Yeah.
I was definitely getting more of a, like, not Diablo, but, like, that kind of, like, medieval dark fantasy vibe from this. The more we delve into this place, like, but also with that whimsical, like, nature of, like, a fairy tale, because of, like, how the stories are written, how the stories are.
That's the
Scathed. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually, this is actually a bit of praise that I left out. The way it's narrated, I feel, actually lends itself to that. This is not, like, in the past of our history. This is, like, a fantasy world.
Yeah.
I don't know why it does that for me, but, like, it does. It works to the narrative tone helps to get me in the mindset of this is a fantasy world.
Yeah, but there are also some like really helpful analogs in the story, like to kind of ground it in like, so like it's not super like alien or like out of context kind of fantasy world. There's enough in the story like
that's how you make that's how you make your reader identify with what's going on.
Yeah,
is by having
having the Church of Aaron.
This is different.
Yeah,
but look, it's just like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's very similar to this.
Yeah, yeah, like the Church of Aaron is like a very like we can all like I can see that as like being like a small like chapel like church or something like that. The Dark Presence kind of has like evil like lich or like devil kind of analog to it, and like even the
darkness.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I mean, Christ, the fucking what is it? The emptiness from Neverending Story.
Yep.
I think it was Neverending Story 2.
Yeah.
But bam.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess just the point is like the story is the world is that is being built here is a really cool and like still familiar but like also like creative world that he's building. I guess is what I've been trying to say. But I guess I'll stop because I'm really running on fumes at this point for things to say about it. So I guess recommendations. I want to see this like looked at and edited a little bit. But I would recommend reading the story as it is right now, even just to enjoy the writing and like or at least enjoy the the narrative and the plot that's going on here. But I would like to also see the story looked at and maybe fixed up a little bit. But otherwise, yeah, I'd recommend it. Unfortunately, there is no readings of it on YouTube, so somebody get on that maybe because I think it's worth it. Mikey.
I'm not going to recommend it because when comparing it to the first one has a lot more visuals that are there just to mess with you, like the horse leaving the town, losing the way,
getting lost in the forest,
finding the bone tree, and all that weird stuff going on, and then this is just, crazy people.
Yeah.
So... like, I like the whole, I have no idea what's going on, and then this one's like, it's all explained. And, yeah, that's kind of weird that there's a darkness controlling people, but it would have, for me, made more, it would have been better if the daughter had gone out and seen the tree as opposed to having the vision of it.
Yeah. I could see that, yeah.
But the darkness already has a hold of the bloodline. Yeah. It's okay. It's not in the story, but it's in my head canon.
That's actually a really cool. I like that because, again, like I like that. Like, yeah, Lucille escaped, but like I like how the darkness doesn't forgive and doesn't forget.
Well, that's the thing. She never escaped.
Yeah,
she was just.
She bought some time.
Or she
actually not really even
part of the master plan.
Yeah. Also, no, I guess she didn't really. She bought some time, but like apparently she like mentally she was not doing well because she was constantly having nightmares.
And nightmares of how she left and that tree and.
Yeah, it's just
exactly. The darkness has the bloodline.
Yeah, I can understand.
Not anymore,
this one definitely is a little bit more mundane than the last one, but I still like the little like excursion into Shallowbrooke. So. But yeah, you're up to your opinion, so.
Mm-hmm. Right.
For me, I would recommend it. However, I would also recommend heavily that Catcid put more effort, or perhaps any effort, into editing these things, because
like have somebody
the writing is solid, but the mistakes that are here are so
simple. Yeah, they're just
so easily caught. So just like it's like you've got this writing style that's really working, and then you're making simple grammatic errors, and that's just
it. Kind of sullies the
polar opposite. Like, okay, your writing style's good. It's several levels above the mistakes you're leaving behind.
Yeah, like it would be so much better, like because it feels like they wrote it and they're like, all right, Like, and if this is like the case, like that's pretty really fucking good. But like they write it and then they post it without like really or without giving it a hard look. Like, and like again, it's written really well, but then it gets sullied. That being written really well, it kind of gets sullied by the fact that there's such simple like typos or issues in it.
Yeah,
that really could like if you just handed it to handed a printed version of it to somebody, or even just a document to somebody, and just had them read it, like another set of eyes is all would fix it. Would fix those problems.
Yeah, that's really all it takes, and it's a shame to see these mistakes in there, and I really want this solved the next time we go to Shallowbrooke.
Yeah,
just because it's if he solves these little mistakes, honestly, if those little mistakes weren't in this story, the story itself worked for me. I liked it. I like crazy people. I like, shadows in the darkness, meddling in affairs of mortals. For me, what wasn't in the what was in the first one but isn't in this, I preferred, whereas obviously Mr. E stands for evil, did not, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's a difference of opinion. Neither one of us is wrong. But if it hadn't had those little mistakes, this would have been, like, my favorite creepypasta. But because of those, like, amateurish, rookie mistakes that just a simple, just one edit would have gotten rid of. And if it has been edited, then, yes, it needs a second pair of eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, I do, in the end, I recommend it. But I also recommend that the editing process of Mr. Catcid or Miss Catcid gets turned up a notch, because this is some seriously good stuff, and if you work on it, it's only going to get better. Also, the whole, like, I get it, you have other stories in Shallowbrooke, leave them out of this one.
Yeah.
Work on that, and work on your editing process, and again, the editing process should take care of that. Should.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have someone look at it and be like, okay, why is this here?
Pretty much do the same thing that we did.
Exactly.
Yeah. 3 sets of eyes looking at the story. Yeah, we found we dug out probably the majority of the problems with the story, if not all.
I'd like to think all of them, but I mean, anyone can miss something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just that's the issues I have with it. But again, writing is a process. You improve over time.
Yeah. All right. So, that was this week's episode. If you like what you heard, if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below wherever this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. We're on Twitter, so send us a message there. With Mikey, it's E stands for evil. Dr. Leviathan, it's Dr. Leviathan. And with Review Cultist, it's Review Cultist. So, also, you could check out each title card for each episode at crazonstudios.tumblr.com. And you could leave us like a rating on iTunes. Also, you can send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also send us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. Also, if you'd like, you could support the show by donating. Go to Patreon and back the tier of patronage that fits you best. So, until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm still Dr. Leviathan.
And I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.
And we're live. Yep, technically.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm gone.
No!
Medic! 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 Medic!